So, warm welcome to all the kids from all around the world. I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala, and with me on the camera is Owen. Now, just to show you what we found this morning, so it's quite cold, and as we were driving along this beautiful riverbed, we saw some tracks of lions heading down in this direction. There were a few that were coming like towards where you are now, towards the camera, but then they turned around and they're actually heading up in this direction. So it's quite hard to see, but right over here, you'll notice there it looks like an imprint in the soil, and that's basically a lion track. Now, just to show you the size of it, because I know it's hard from there, so I'm going to just take my hand, measure up here, and then I'm going to use this here just to illustrate. So that track is probably nearly the size of my hand. That's how big this lion is that's moving here. It looks like there might be just one, and we are trying to look for the pride. It could be a male that's by himself, or it's a chance that it might be one of the members of... I just want to listen. I nearly thought I think we heard some lions calling up on that side. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to try and carry on with this riverbed, and hopefully we'll be able to see these lions. So for now, I think let's carry on. But exciting. So early part of the morning, lion tracks. You can see I even got my little blanket to put over my legs because it's nice and cold. And I think let's carry on with our search. Mark, age 7. So it all depends. I mean, with male lions, they would normally, especially in the wild, up to anywhere from 11 to 14 years. Sometimes it could be a bit less. It all depends if they're on any fight, if there's a serious injury. But that will be their normal lifespan. And then the females, if they really lucky, can push up to 16, possibly 17 years. I know in captivity they might go a little bit longer. But normally from what we've noticed in the wild, that will be their average lifespan. It's just such a beautiful morning. There's actually a little bit of mist in the riverbed. So what I'm hoping for is that possibly these lions would have moved during the evening and eventually just end up in an area where they can rest up a bit. Now, because the sun is not out, it might be in an open area like this river. But of course, as soon as it starts warming up from there, they'll start moving into the shade. But for now, this is where we're going to search. And as we said earlier, so Owen also heard it, there were some lions calling down on this side. So we're going to gently carry on with the river, eventually loops around, and then see if we can get them. And I think after that, we'll first focus on the lions this morning, and after that, we might just start changing our route. So I think while we carry on to see if there's any chances of finding lions, we're going to link you across to Steve at Djuma and hear if he has an update for us. Also a nice introduction.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to very fresh and chilly Djuma Private Game Reserve this morning. My name is Steve, joined by Davisito. We're just trying to pull up here and show you a little bit of the sky. Good morning to everybody out there on this very nice 10 degrees Celsius morning, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This morning's game drive is dedicated to two people, Patricia Ruvani and Carol Slivovsky. They are dedicating it to their pets, Minnie and Chip. And the quote is, "They were pets who loved watching the drives with me." So how awesome is that? We look forward to hearing your questions this morning. Please do send them through, and don't forget they're also available for the kids this morning at Kids Questions at WildEarth.tv. The first 45 minutes, we'd like to hear from all of you little kids and see what's going on with you out there. But what a wonderful morning. We don't seem to have any mist that I can see from now. Yesterday was very misty. And we're going to start seeing it more and more as... Oh, there we go. There's a lioness track. Bang. Coming in. Let me just have a little look over here. Hey? This one, are you sure? I checked yesterday. There was one. This one looks quite fresh. One came in here yesterday for sure. And I wonder if this is the same one. Tristan had one coming in. This is the second one. It looks like another lioness has maybe followed, but it might be the same one. It gets tricky this time of year to identify tracks with regards to freshness. Tracks will change with age, with the wind. That one has got a white-tailed mongoose track on top of it. Let's just see if it is a different one. No, it does appear to be the same one. Indeed. Thanks, Davy. Okay, so we're just going to slowly head down towards the drainage line. We were really perplexed yesterday with regards to what that mating pair of leopards was doing, or whether they are indeed mating. It's very hard to say because we haven't heard them or seen them doing so. But Shadulu, the female leopard from the west, is definitely in estrus, and her calls the night before, see that, were definitely attracting the attentions of a male, and it's possible, not quite sure exactly, we believe it might be Mawati, a skittish male leopard that's moved into Djuma the last 6 or so, 7 months. There is some mist in our valleys as well. As the sun rises, it pushes the cold air down, and that's what causes the valleys to be so misty. It's like entering into a freezer as you go further and further down. But I know Tristan is going to see, he's going pretty much to the last area. He saw those tracks last night, and we're just checking the western side before slowly making our way down towards the central parts of Djuma as well. As always, the ground is littered with hyena tracks. Yesterday, though, almost every road was covered with a pair of leopard tracks. So we're going to see if we can find any fresh ones. But in the meantime, Tristan is out and about. As I said, he's headed towards the central regions. Let's go catch up with him.
Stephen, as it is, try in the form of Loati is cold. In Loati, it's not nice at all to be out, but he maybe help us as well. My name is Tristan, and hopefully we're going to have a productive morning. It's cold, but it's going to be a beautiful day in about an hour, and the sun is up and high and warm. Then I think we'll be good, but for now it's pretty chilly. All right, now it sounds grim issues, so while we sort those out, let's send you back to Steve.
Gremlins in the morning. They're not affected by the cold. They're still very active. Apologies for any technical issues there, everybody. We'll get to the bottom of it. You're back with us, though. So my favorite time of day, when we come out to read the landscape and the tracks on the ground. Trackers back in the day that I worked with always used to talk about it as reading the morning newspaper, the highlights, what's happened in the night. Because generally, a lot of the sort of high-profile animals that we're looking for move during the evening as a means of territory, as a means of hunting, or even just as a means of searching for food, as well as possibly just trying to warm up. So yesterday morning, lots of activity on the ground, and Tristan and I were all over the place trying to figure out where that pair of cats got to. And the afternoon they would have been much less active, but now this evening that have once again been on a bit of a mission. And not just the pair of them, but potentially lions coming in from the west or the east. And there have been wild dogs around lately, and you never quite know where they could end up the following day. It's always worth just investigating and checking absolutely everywhere. On exiting camp this morning, there were tracks of 2 honey badgers that were running up and down. Very nice track to see. I get very excited when I see honey badger tracks, or even more excited when I see the animal. They are by far my favorite critter out. So much attitude. We've had some wonderful sightings in the past with honey badgers here. I had a honey badger once trying to ferret out a monitor lizard, and a monitor lizard escaped for the time being, went up a small stump, and then jumped into a buffalo thorn, a very inaccessible bush. And the honey badger climbed up the stump and then flung itself off without any consideration to its body. And then you could see it missioning around to try to figure out how to get this monitor. They're incredibly smart animals. When you look at a honey badger's skull, the brain casing is enormous for its body size. And it was figuring out, and eventually figured out how to get to the monitor, went after it. The monitor jumped out of the tree. Honey badger once again threw itself out onto the ground without any consideration for its well-being, and caught that monitor lizard. And then we proceeded to watch it eat it for about 2 hours, which was very special. Not so much for the monitor lizard, but for the honey badger for sure. Okay, well, the sun is slowly rising here, and no doubt Nicky has got some sunshine on his face as well. Let's go to him to say good morning.
So we just spotted a civet. We just want to try and see if we can get another view. He's moved into quite a dense area off to our right. To our left. So please just bear with us as we are moving, just to try to see if we can get another glimpse of him. Okay, let me just go down that path. Just tell me if you can see it there. I'll just quickly stop. So it just ran off to the left. Now, unfortunately, we won't be able to follow. So we're just going to wipe the screen quickly, because the river is just on that side, and it's really dense going down that direction. But so I just want to show some of our viewers what we saw earlier. So I don't think I can see it anymore, and it's moved off. Let me just quickly get to the page here for the mammals. So right over here, I wonder if I can ask. So if I do see any movement, I'll let you know. But so this is basically what we saw. It's known as an African civet, but it's this one right over here. So very, like for those in the States, it almost looks like a raccoon. But you can see here, very black, quite a lot of black on the legs, a little bit of white, especially around the mouth, and then quite a few spots in the black at the end of the tail. Now look at this beautiful sunrise right in front of us. So it's this very, like this morning, there's a lot of golden colors. And what we're trying to do, Sam H10, that's a good question. I think, like, from all the smallest, or all the small animals that I have seen, I think there's quite a few. I mean, if we look at possibly some of the shrews, or something that looks like a mouse, or a bushveld gerbil, is quite small, probably the size of a little bit smaller than my fist. And I think from this morning, the smallest that we've seen this morning definitely had to be this African civet. The other animals that we heard only were the lions in the distance, and of course there's quite a few elephant tracks as we speak in the road, and there's always a chance we might even find some more elephants. So we're just going to wipe the lens again. It's just such a cold morning, but it is a very, very beautiful morning, and there's a lot of different colors that are out there. So I want to know from the kids. So the other day we had a little request to hear if there's some activities that you want to do on our drives in the afternoon, especially if there was anything in particular we're hoping to do, or possibly some animals that you're hoping to see. I would love you to send some questions through, send some ideas of what are some of the animals that you really want to go and see, or even if it's some of the smaller things. Is there a particular insect, maybe a particular tree you want to know a little bit more about? And then we can always try and change our drives in order to suit that. But I think for now, as we said, we're carrying on with our lion search. It's a beautiful part of the morning, nice and early for lions, and I think we'll give it the first hour or two. We'll definitely give it a good chance for lions, but I think after that, we might just explore a different part of the reserve this morning and see if there's a chance of either cheetah or African wild dogs. So I think while we're carrying on and tracking these lions, let's hear from Tristan if he has any updates on his tracks or tracking this morning.
Good luck, Nikki. Hopefully you find said lions, and hopefully they put on a show like they have been over the last couple of days. It seems like the cubs and things have been crazy and fun to watch, so hopefully they're out and about. We're busy trying to see if we can find any sign of our leopards from yesterday, see if there's any tracks to indicate that they've moved. So far nothing though, so we're driving kind of back to where the last tracks were, just to check it out and make sure. But at this stage it seems as though the only thing we found is tracks for hyenas, I'm afraid. And we're really waiting patiently for the sun to come up because it's really cold where we've just been. The Mulawati drainage is icy this morning, so it will be nice to have some sunshine, that's for sure. And what we're going to do is we're going to just check the eastern side. I don't know if anyone heard any sound of them mating last night, because we think that they're mating, and so we're trying to just drive around, stop a little bit, listen, in the hope that we do pick up some sort of indication of where they've been or where they are. That's the plan, at least. The problem is that we know for these two leopards, the particular leopards that we're trying to look for, is that they actually will probably go quite far south as well. Mulawati goes into the south, and we know that Shadulu also goes into the south, but a little bit further west than Mulawati normally does. So I wouldn't be surprised they've gone kind of southwest into Hofmann's, that area. Both of them regularly cross that side, so it'll be interesting to see. We know that Hukumuri also goes that side, so that'll certainly be a nice kind of dynamic to see play out, whether Hukumuri takes over the mating or if it continues to stay just Shadulu and Mulawati. It'd be nice if it was Hukumuri, because if they crossed onto our side, it would be quite easy to find the two of them. Neither one of those two is too worried about the cars, not like Mulawati, who's a little bit shy. He doesn't like to be seen as much. Alessandro, who's 12 years old. Me personally, I am in the northeastern corner of South Africa in a place called Djuma Game Reserve, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. And like I say, that is in northeastern South Africa. Now, Nicky, he's north of me at the moment. He's in an area called Ngala, which is basically straight north from here, not too far as the crow flies. It's about 30 odd kilometers, or what would that be in miles? About 20 miles from where we are. And then Clive down in andBeyond Phinda, well, he's on the sort of eastern side of South Africa, so not the northern side, but the eastern side of South Africa, and he is quite far. I'm actually not sure what the exact distance is, but it's quite a long way. And then later you might meet Dylan. Dylan is down in Tswalu Kalahari, and that's on the other side of South Africa, on the western side of South Africa. So yeah, we're all over the place this morning, which is a good thing, I suppose. Lots of diversity, and we get to see lots of different areas. Now, you'll see BK will be wiping the lens from time to time. That's just because it's so cold this morning, the lens is fogging up. And so BK is just making sure that he keeps it clear for you guys. Then we'll stop having to worry about it so much. I'm just trying to see, there's so many tracks in this area for little baby leopards and mother leopards and all kinds of other things, and I'm trying to pick up whether or not the tracks are on top of Steve's tracks. I know Steve drove here last night, So if they are on top of Steve's tracks, then we've got a good kind of idea of what's going on. And it looks like there are some tracks on top of his, so it'll be interesting to see who exactly. Alright, I'm going to try and just have a look at these quickly and just see whether or not they're on top of where Steve drove. While I do that though, I'm going to send you across to my friend Taylor, who's also in a different parts of South Africa, and she wants to say good morning, and it seems like she's already found some furry friends.
Hey everybody, welcome to Prrivate here at Eco Training. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert. Now I know we're moving around, being a little bit naughty, but we just had a view of some lions. I definitely saw a lioness, and then I saw a youngster of some sort, but they've moved out of sight. So we're going to jump on this road, and it climbs uphill, so hopefully you're not going to lose our signal. But the reason why I don't want to go bashing through the bushes this morning is because they seem to be hunting. So we actually trailed this pride of lions down all the way from the big open plains, and then we sort of made our way west. There's a dam behind us. So let's see if we can get a view of these lions for you. And it should be very nice lighting as well, because we've got the beautiful, tall, white, yellow grass. Ah, there they are. I'm going to just pick up the pace just a little bit, very far behind them. And then we're going to have a nice golden view of these lions. There's one there, but they're moving. So I don't know these lions very well. Just going to keep creeping along. There they are. And I'm going to stop just up ahead, almost there. We don't want to get stuck behind them and not be able to follow them. Oh, there's lots of lions. Hello, Jasmine. You're only 12 years old. This is a great question for me about lions roaring and why do they? They're a little bit nervous. I'm going to stop now. So Jasmine, the reason why lions roar is that they do so to first declare their territories, to tell all the other lions that they are living in this space, and then they can also roar to try and find one another. We can have a look at the lions now. Here we go. And then sometimes they don't always do big roars. They do other sounds to also communicate with one another, and they were doing it. So we might hear them make a contact call, which is a much softer sound. But normally it's to declare territories, and then of course to locate other members of the pride. Here we go. So I've counted 3 lionesses, and then there's definitely a youngster, sub-adult of sorts. But this is the first time we've shown you these lions, and this is the first time I've seen so many lions together, which is great, because I have only seen 2 of these lionesses before, but it's quite a big pride from what I understand. But lions can move huge distances. Let's just see if they come through the grass again. It's very difficult. It's very dense here. Oh, there they come. Look how beautiful that is. There's one more coming through. There we go. That's a young lion, as you can see. There's another young lion, so 2 young lions. Huh. Interesting. Okay, we're going to have to go up, move up a little bit further ahead again, and try and see if we can follow them. And it's a bit windy here. I'm not sure if it's windy Djuma as well, but here at Pridelands, just outside of Hoedspruit, it's freezing. And it is very, very windy. Ah, they're walking down the road. That's nice. I almost want to go around now and get to them on the other side. So, there they've just stopped. Ah, we're going to lose them. We can just watch them as they walk down the road quickly. And then we'll try and get around them again. There are some other vehicles in the sighting that we need to be considerate. You can just see them walking down in the distance, following the road, and then every now and then they poke their heads up and sniff the air. They did just miss a herd of buffalo, though. There were some dugger boys, and just a little bit on the other side of the drainage line. They counted how many had? 4 big dugger boys, big buffalo bulls. We thought that would have been a better meal for them, but unfortunately not so much. They're going in the opposite direction. But as these lions walk along the road, they're going to leave footprints, and that's what Steve is having a look at.
Thanks, Taylor. It's so wonderful to have lions that side this morning, and quite surprised you say it's windy. We're not that far away from where Taylor is, and there's no wind here. It's really interesting how you get these localized sort of patterns. She is closer to the mountain, so maybe that is why, but we don't have any wind. Not yet, anyway. If you've ever gone sailing, you can actually see the wind approaching across the water, which is quite interesting. It moves. It's like a living thing. Whew. It is fresh this morning. The tips of the fingers are feeling what we in South Africa say, hyena, which means painful or sore. Hyena, can you say that? Those of you who are from abroad, hyena. Oh, we've got a roadblock up ahead. Hello, Pranav, age 13, wants to know, how do you tell the difference between a male and female lion? Okay, the track. Now, Pranav, it's very important, let me just find it in the book here. It's very important to have some form of measurement. Page 198. Okay, so you'll notice in the picture that's in the book here, over here on the right, you'll see that this gentleman's going to put a Leatherman down, which is a knife, and that's 10 centimeters. So always use a reference with some measuring device so that you can get the comparison of the size. But if we look over here on the left-hand side where there's some drawings of the lion tracks, you'll see over here that it shows the females at the bottom and the male at the top. Now, in this diagram, it doesn't give you too many explanations, but what we know is that a male lion track is 14 centimeters and more, and a female lion track is normally about 13 centimeters, the front. So I've had male lion tracks up to 15, up to 16 centimeters. So by using a measuring tool, like something exactly like this, you can see obviously the scale in the book is not right, but on the ground, if you see a track, put down your measuring device. If it's 10 centimeters, that's very likely a male leopard. If it's 8 to 9 centimeters, a female leopard. If it's 11 centimeters and a little bit squished, then it's probably a cheetah, because the cheetah, you'll also see the claw sitting up. But a male lion track is just so much bigger, 1.5 to 3 centimeters bigger than a female. And a centimeter doesn't look very big, but when you add them together, it really does add a lot of size. So I hope that helps. But in the sand over here, you can actually have a look and you can see a wonderful track in the mud there. But difficult to gauge size with those because there's no measuring tool. So figure out a measuring tool, put it down, and always use them when you take photos so that you can have a comparison. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. Just in a hand with some tracks and send you over to andBeyond and Ngala with Nikki, who I think is looking for some lions.
So we just found quite a large herd of wildebeest, but what's so nice about it is just the angle in relation to the sun. So they're in between where we are and the sun. But the colors are so beautiful this morning. So the grass, you'll notice once we get a little bit closer, the grass has this golden appearance, and then of course the sunlight hitting them from the back also creates this little fine golden rim around these wildebeest. Just want to move a little bit to the one on the right there, and I think on the right there's another one that's a bit more in the open. Yeah, there. If you zoom in a little bit left of that, go left, a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, that one there.
Thank you, Colin.
So you can see right underneath his belly there's actually a bird. Kelly, age 7, I would say Some of the animals that, of course, that aren't nighttime animals would probably be the wildebeest, impala, zebra. They all probably wake up the same time. As soon as the sun comes out, they start moving, and because you can imagine, they'll probably move into a nice open area where there's a bit of sunlight to warm up, especially after a cold evening like last night. But I wanted to point out, did you notice there was a bird on the belly of this wildebeest, and then it jumped onto the leg? I think it might just be on the other side. If we give it some time, we might even find it coming back around. So that's one of the oxpeckers. So the oxpecker is basically there to try and pick off all the ticks. So they help the wildebeest with that. But you'll notice this one, it's chewing something, but it's not really putting its head down to grab some grass. It's just bringing up food into its mouth. So like cows, they're ruminants, so they have to bring up everything that they've fed upon. Let's say with this one could have been from this morning, and now they need to break it down, or else they can't digest it properly. So they'll bring it up, chew it again, swallow it, bring it up, chew it again, swallow it until it's soft enough so that it can go through the stomach, and then from there on. Now, one of my favorite things about a wildebeest is, so if Owen can focus again on that one, it's just their shape. Now, if you notice the wildebeest, you notice that the front legs and the shoulder and the neck is very stocky, quite strong. And then if you look towards the back, it almost looks like the back, from the shoulder blades all the way back, it has this down slope towards the bum area. And the reason for that is because especially look at the one that's just behind this wildebeest, especially when they need to run, because they are designed in that particular way, they can run for very long distances. So they have a lot of stamina because of just the whole way that they are built. But you can see some of them are having their heads down. Others quickly pick up their head and look around. So this is the area more or less where we heard the lions calling from this morning. And I think with the lions being around, I think they are very cautious and very aware of what's going on around them here. So while we are going to go look for some lions, I heard some exciting news that at andBeyond Phinda, our guides there found some lions. I think it's Clive today, so we're going to send you across to go and have a look.
Good morning and a very warm welcome from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera we have Marcel. And I hear you have been following a lot this morning, but we have managed to find a pride of lions called the Ngala Pride. They're just in some quite long grass up ahead of us here. I'm just going to move a little bit forward for us quickly. Or have you got a view there, Marcel? Okay, let's leave it right there for now. So this was also a bit of a tracking mission this morning. We have another vehicle out also that was helping us, also looking for these lions. And they got very lucky and managed to find them. Morning, Luca. You are asking if we can see any baby lions. So in this pride, those three now that you can see that have just walked into the road are young lions. They aren't babies anymore. They're in the region of 1.5 years old already. But in this pride, they are the youngest one. They aren't the youngest ones. There aren't any very small little babies at the moment in this pride. So yes, they are the youngest ones, and they're about 1.5 years old. What's quite interesting, though, is that all of them are little young males. So there's 5 little young males here. And then the one that you can see closest to us in the road that's looking off to the right, that's the mother, that's the female lioness. Also, if you just have a look at this whole area that we're in here, maybe Marcel can just zoom out a little bit, but have a look at all these beautiful trees here. And these trees with the greenish, yellowish color bark are called fever trees, and they always grow close to water. And that's right, just up ahead of us, there is a little bit of water. Now behind us, where these lions were first spotted, there was actually a spot where the ground was all flattened, or the grass was all flattened out. And these lions had actually eaten a big male impala that they must have caught last night. But an impala is quite a small antelope. So they've all eaten off that impala, finished it quite quickly, and now they're heading probably straight towards that water that I was talking about, which is another maybe 100 meters up ahead. So as they slowly carry on walking down the road, we're just going to follow them until they get there. Almost as if that lioness has seen something. Since we were talking about her, she's had her eyes locked onto the right-hand side there. Oh no, there, she's stopped now. Always works like that. Oh, there we go. Now they all seem to be settling down and lying down in the road. Yeah, the youngsters, even at this age, all they want to do is play. They just want to chase each other. A few minutes ago, the one little youngster held onto a stick and they were chasing each other. Hello, Sam. You're asking how big are these animals? So the lioness that's closest to us, or just on the left-hand side of the road, is the mother. And she's quite big. She will stand, sure, I'm guessing close to 1 meter tall, almost hip height for me, for an adult. The youngsters, though, that are still quite a bit smaller, even though they are males that are normally bigger than the females, with them only being about 1.5 years old, they'll be a little bit shorter. And if you look at the weight, the big adult female like her should be in the region of about maybe 150 kilograms. And then the youngsters there, sure, I would guess probably in the region of about 80 kilograms. See, they're walking back towards the mom now. It's quite interesting to see that cub on the right-hand side that's lying down. It's quite interesting to see how dark he is. Hi, Murray. You are asking how many lions there are in this pride. So in this pride there are 3 adult females, which are all sisters. In right here at the moment, I think there's only 2 of them, though. I'm not too sure where the third one is. And then there's, between these 2, they have 5 cubs of very close to the same age. 2 of them are slightly older than the others, but they almost look the same. They're very similar ages. And then, as I say, there's 1 more female that's not with the pride. And then there's also 2 males that kind of control this area. And this is their pride and their cubs as well. But they're also not with the pride at the moment. That one lioness up front seems to have had enough. She's going to the water now. And it seems like they're all slowly getting up and following her as well. Now if you look a little bit further left, Marcel, can you see in the grass there? I see there are 2 playing there, but they're in quite long grass. Let's see if we can see them playing. I heard them jumping on top of each other. Now remember I said just now, the one that they caught an impala last night and they ate it. They ate it all up until about 20 minutes ago. That's when they left. But I just want to have a look through the binoculars and see how big their bellies are quickly. Yeah, their bellies are still relatively empty. But I think for now, we're going to carry on following these lions and see where they end up. For now, we're going to head over to Tristan for a spotted surprise.
I was here walking up and down, and I drove in there just now, yesterday, but I couldn't see anything.
Right, so unfortunately, it seems my mic is giving me trouble again, but basically what I was saying was that we found very, very fresh tracks for Thandi where she had obviously stashed the cub and where she has been going back and forth, and that coupled with a poo on the road meant that she ended up kind of giving away the fact that she had a kill here. And so we, instead of walking in, because I was almost convinced that the kill was right here, it wasn't far, we drove in and we've managed to find her up the tree, finishing off the last of an impala kill. She's probably had this for a good 2 days now. It's why she's marched that cub all the way up this way, and the cub is, like I say, not very far from here at all. We found her track. So what I'm going to do is wait for her to finish this kill, because once she's finished, she should take us back to the cub, and we should be able to get a nice kind of view of the little one, which will be really, really good. But super easy track this morning. It was, compared to yesterday, which was chaos for leopard tracks, this was a lot easier. She made our lives very simple by just going in and out of the same spot. And like I say, as soon as you see tracks like that and you see fresh poo on the road, you know very well that there's a kill nearby. And like I say, we pretty much know exactly where the cub is too, and the cub is going to be tricky to access. Where she's taken it is not a very friendly place, but hopefully we'll be able to kind of follow her back into that area. But awesome to find her. It was, like I say, it's always cool when you get into a tracking situation where you're able to find a leopard very quickly. Always makes my day when you know that you have a gut feel that there's something going on. And Steve actually called it this morning. He said to me yesterday, he said he thinks there's a kill somewhere in this general area and that I must come and have a look. And we were spot on in that we managed to kind of find it. So Steve sort of got the first initial clues, and when I came back today and there was tracks on top of Steve's tracks, it was a good indication that there was something going on in this area. But like I say, really not very much left at all. It looks like skin and bone at this stage. So Debbie, who's 9 years old, is asking how they climb up the tree. Well, leopards are one of the big cats that is incredibly good at climbing trees, and how they do it is they've got very powerful front legs with powerful muscles and then sharp claws on their feet. And so what they do is they jump up the tree, they grip with those front paws, and then they pull themselves using that front end, which is really, really strong. And the tail that they have, the long tail, is just going to help balance them as they climb and move around in the tree. So they really are able to do it incredibly well. I'm hoping that you'll see her come down the tree and you'll be able to see how quick and easy it is for them to be able to climb. They're amazing creatures when it comes to climbing and coming down. Now, lions can also climb, and so can cheetah, but they're just not as good at it as what a leopard is. A leopard is a much kind of smaller creature than a lion, so it's not as heavy, and therefore it's easier for it to climb. And with cheetah, their claws are just not shaped the same way. Because their claws don't actually go back in, they're a little bit more blunted than what the leopard has, and so their ability to grip is not as good as what leopards have. So leopards really are the king of the trees, or queens of the trees in this case, and they really are able to move around a lot. But how cool is it that we've had Thandi on kills within the last, how many days? It's been 4 days. We've had her twice on kills, which has been really, really good. Like I say, I doubt that she's going to be here this afternoon. This kill is almost done. She must have been here for the last 2 days, at least. All right, it's that time of the day, though, unfortunately, where we are going to finish up for our kids' safari for the morning. But don't worry, kids, you can continue watching and ask all the questions that you want to. Also, all of the adults that have just joined us, remember that we want to hear your questions too, and you can use hashtag WildEarth or at FC on the YouTube chat streams. It'll be good to hear from you guys. We've got lots to discuss, all leopard things. There's a few things that some people have tagged me in, so we'll discuss those later. But while we kind of sit here and enjoy Thandi, let's send you back across to Taylor with those lions.
Well, this is very, very exciting. This is obviously not a lion. This is an elephant. Welcome back from the kids show. Very exciting things for them all to see. We'll be answering all the rest of the questions. Now, that elephant it's a young bull, and you can see he's very flustered at the moment with his ears open wide and his tail moved away from his body. I don't know if he's seen the lions yet or if he's just smelt them. But definitely not very impressed. We're actually sitting downwind of where the lions are. But that's not all that's here. There's also a big giraffe bull that's moving around, which is quite exciting. I'm just checking behind me to see if these lions do pop out somewhere. So please apologize. You saw the lovely tawny color of the lions. They're virtually invisible in this long grass, so we have to make sure that we keep a close eye out. They were going in here, so I'm just trying to figure out if I can find where they're going to pop out. Maybe that elephant has pushed them back in slightly. That could have happened too. I mean, if an elephant came out at me with his ears like that, I know he's not an enormous bull, he's very young. I'd be quite terrified and would probably move off. The general direction was sort of coming towards us though, so just going to have a poke my nose in here. See, they do pop out. But luckily Gert is sitting quite high up and he can see a whole bunch more than I can see. I'm also just going to try and make sure that I don't drive over anything, any big something like that. That won't be good. I'm trying to find the clearest path through the bushes. Where have they gone? Can you see them? Okay, Gert is telling me, did you actually see them? Okay, so good news. I'm going to try and reverse. They're just changing direction slightly. So we're going to go back to, hello. We're going to go back to where we came from. A little bit of maneuvering. It's one thing you get really good at as a safari guide is multitasking. And being able to drive and see all the through the bushes. Okay. Let's see. We're going to keep an eye in this direction. Okay, I'm going to just see if we can get one quick view of these lions very quickly. Cat has got his spotting eyes out. Okay. It seems as though they've just given us the slip, so we're going to relocate on them. Off you go. Back to Djuma, and Steve is now. God, that is.
Thanks everybody, welcome back. I was on my way to give Tristan a hand with the tracks. Remember last night, if you were watching, we had tracks up and down on this one road that I kept coming around, and I was almost certain there was something going on, and I was giving you a different perspective of Thandi on the kill. Just a moment ago, the one leg of that impala was hanging down low, and then the hyena that's on the scene tried to grab it, and Thandi just snarled at him and swiped it back. Swiped it back. There she is, eating vigorously. So when you find an area with tracks up and down, it's a den site or it's a kill, with the leopard going to the water somewhere to drink. But there were so many tracks. There were male, there were female, different female and cub tracks. So it's exactly the area I was pointing out last night and saying that Thandi kept Columba in this area for a bit, year before last. And if you recall that elephant that we had last night, we were just around the corner. We were not far at all. Thandi having a meal. Now that impala is practically finished, which means she's been on it for a couple of days. When we tracked her to this direction a few days ago, Tiger Jaw, you want to know how we tell the difference between a leopard and a cheetah? Well, you don't generally find cheetahs in trees. They do climb from time to time, but they're a lot more slender. And when you look at the spots on a cheetah, the cheetah's actually got spots where the leopard's got what you call rosettes. You can see on the body there are rosettes. And the cheetah's also got these black stripes underneath the eyes. Black stripes, we call them tear stripes. And they're also a little bit longer. They can, they're quite easy to see the similarities when you see them separately, but when you see them together, it's almost very difficult to confuse them with that tear stripe. Well, there's not much meat left there. Very hard to see the rest of the animal. There was a leg draped over the branch. Probably a smallish impala, not certain. I can't see it clearly from this angle. Wonderful marula tree. I'm almost certain I drove very close to this area last night and I just didn't see her. That kill very low down in the tree. Very important habitat trees for leopards out here. The marulas are often the tree of choice, and there are many of them in this area we're in. Red bush willow woodland, characterized by large marula trees. Hello Hamsini, do you want to know if leopards will kill their own kind if they're hungry? Well, predators for the most part will kill other predators of different species, not necessarily for hunger but for competition. And leopards will do the same from time to time for competition. They don't necessarily do it for hunger. They do it because of the competition, and then once the animal's dead, they quite often eat them. They don't always eat them, but they quite often will eat them afterwards if they've killed them. It happens often with adult leopards and cubs. It's a very sad thing to witness, but it is the circle of life. But when it comes to competition in the predator world, it is quite an incredible thing to witness. Okay, well, good morning to Tswalu Kalahari. They have got the sun peeking out. Let's go over to them to say good morning.
Good morning, everyone, again. As you can see, it's another absolutely spectacular day out here at Tswalu Kalahari. Dylan, for those of you who don't know me, and good old Gendre, again on camera. Without him, we're not going to be able to do this, so thanks for that, Gendre. We're close to the Meerkat burrows now. We're waiting for Mossadi, and remember, Mossadi is the alpha female, so we're just waiting for them to get up. It's been quite a bit cooler this morning than it's been the past couple of days. There was a breeze that picked up, so I don't know how soon they're going to be coming out, but anyway, we're here, we are ready, and it's just wonderful having you all with us. And so feel free to please ask us any questions you'd like. If we can answer them, we will. If we can't, we will find out. And that's what we're here for, is just exploring this environment, trying to understand what's going on, and just obviously enjoying being in the outdoors and being able to share this with you. So I think it's going to be probably another 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit earlier. And those of you with me and Gendre yesterday morning, we were chatting about how this alpha female, Mossadi, she has been known to actually bring the pups out earlier than a lot of the other meerkat groups. So we're going to spend every morning here and make sure that we actually don't miss the moment when they actually come out of or actually brought out of these burrows. But spend some time with us and we'll see what we can get. I think in the meantime, head over to Taylor and see what she's got on that side.
Morning, Dylan. Sounds like you're having an exciting day. Apologies, you always I cannot even drive today. It's gonna have a heart attack. Give me 2 seconds and I'm gonna show you some elephants. Why can't I get through this gap? Sorry everybody, sometimes I have these moments where I just actually forget how to drive. So the elephants are playing games with us. It's actually been quite incredible. They keep dodging up on this little rocky outcrop because there's a huge herd of elephants moving through here. Obviously we saw that young bull, and I think they're quite terrified. You could see the fear in their eyes. The elephants know that they're here, they can smell them. I don't think all of them have seen them, but I'm hoping that the lions are going to come this way. Every time we get a view, we sit with them, and then by the time we come to us, they've disappeared. So let's just have a look at these elephants. You can see them marching down the road. I'm going to keep an eye out behind. There's a lion. Can you see it? Oh, hallelujah. There's 2 lions. Sorry, they're in the distance. Yeah, straight in there. Keep going all the way back. And we'll get the focus now. Sorry, there we go, on the lions. So yeah, sorry. Right, we're going to just try and find another view. Oh, it's so tricky to get in there. I'm hoping that they just come out onto the road. That would be a whole bunch easier. Let's just have one more look at these ellies. So I'd rather be on this side of the elephants because it would be nice to watch the ellies run towards and chase the lions away, which they'll probably do. Not that an elephant in a group like this really has anything to worry about with those lions. These are not lions that are particularly talented at hunting elephants. There are some lion prides that specialize in hunting elephants. Karangi National Park in Zimbabwe. There's other places too. These lions in the Greater Kruger typically hunt buffalo and everything else, really. Joy, hello. This little elephant is not impressed with us. I wouldn't say that these animals are less habituated. They're actually very relaxed. The lions in particular, as you know, are not a problem. The elephants have actually been great. These boys are a little bit stirred up again. It's windy. They can smell the lions. What I would say is that maybe the leopards here at Prrivate haven't had that much vehicle interaction, but there are some relaxed individuals. I've seen wild dogs, and they were quite happy with the cars. So what happens is that obviously with these big open ecosystems, the animals can move around. So like the Prrivate Lions has definitely seen vehicles from all the different wilderness areas around here. Now I'm just trying to figure out what we're going. the elephants have now just disappeared down into this valley. We won't be able to go there, and I know if I go down to the right, we're probably going to lose signal, so I don't want to move just yet. And the lions are just going bundu bashing, and I don't really want to bundu bash after them because there's lots of rocks and things like that. So yeah, we will try and reposition at some point. I'm just enjoying being able to driving around, but it's very exciting. Hey, you don't know where to look. There's so much action today. So off you go back to Djuma, to some of the more relaxed leopards.
Good morning again, everybody. We are still here. Tandy's now giving her impala a bit of a lick. So even though it's not that high up in the tree, it's still safe from the scavengers on the ground. A lion, though, would be able to get that. It's only about 2.5 meters there. We're actually not far away from that area. The viewers who've been watching the show for some time will remember Tandy had a daycare up one of the trees here, and one of the Birmingham boys, who you've spent quite a bit of time lately at Ngala with the Birmingham Pride, one of the Birmingham boys who were previously one of the dominant males in the area. They actually climbed up a tree a little bit to the same sort of height as where Tandy is now, and very tentatively climbed up and pulled down a stinking daycare that had been hoisted there by Tandy. Obviously, no leopard's going to give a lion a hard time. When it comes to competition, we spoke before, the lion would also try and kill the leopard if it could. But that is how leopards keep themselves alive and away from lions, is up in trees like that, where they can get higher and higher, and the lion, even if it could come and steal the kill, Tandy could get right up to the top branches, and it would be impossible for the lion to follow her that far up. But a leopard or a cheetah or hyena caught on the ground by a lion is in a lot of trouble. AISJ wants to know how often do leopards make a kill? Well, it's hard to say exactly, because many of the kills leopards make are small. Scrub hares, small birds like francolins, or we've seen Tlalamba, Tandy's other daughter, killing a thickney. So how many of those small animals are caught and killed on a daily basis is hard to say. We can only really know when we find leopards on established kills, and 2 days ago, Sunday, Tristan found Tandy on a kill. And what's today? Thursday. She was on that kill for 2 days and then lost it. And then she's definitely been on this kill for more than a day, considering the amount has been eaten. So every couple of days, a leopard can hunt successfully. Sometimes they can hunt more than once in a day. I've found a male leopard with 2 warthog piglets and a baby zebra up a tree that he killed that same day. So some days they have more luck than others, and they're very opportunistic, so they will hunt again and again if the opportunity presents itself. But they can also go for up to a week and a half without eating, not that they choose to do so. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to send you over to Dylan and Tswalu Kalahari with a look at the meerkats.
So the meerkats have just popped out, literally 30-40 seconds ago. So you can see they hunched over, backs to the wind. As the sun's intensity starts increasing, they'll turn around and start facing it. So going from where I'm sitting, I can actually move around and see which one is Mosadi. Okay, I think this is one closest to, in other words, furthest from you and closest to me. I just have to double check there. Yeah, that looks like her. So now they're just going to be warming up. And exactly the same pattern as yesterday. You know, 2 or 3 popped out, 1 stayed out, and the others went back down again. Just constantly on the alert. And as always, we just keep our distance from the meerkats. There's no need to approach. Just for those of you who might be wondering in terms of our distance there, remember, Jandre's doing a great job with the camera there, and it's got a wonderful zooming ability. So, you know, the shots can be quite deceptive in terms of the distance. We're not as close as it might seem sometimes. And you really want to be on the side of caution in terms of approaching any kind of wild animal. You know, you really don't want to impact on their behavior in any way. And of course, these are in some ways even more, you got to take even more caution just because of the presence of pups. And the same would go with elephants with a calf, or, you know, a leopard with a cub, or birds with nestlings, chicks, that kind of stuff. You know, you really want to disturb things as little as possible. So we'll go from knowing we've got pups but not seeing them yet, to Phinda, who actually has some cheetah with cubs.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, and a real bout of cuteness for you here this morning. Have a look at these tiny little cheetah cubs. For those of you that were with us yesterday afternoon, we came out and found these cubs yesterday afternoon. The mother had caught a young female Ngala, and they're actually still busy feeding on it at the moment. As you can see, that one cub is feeding there. And yesterday, for those of you who were watching, Jared said that was the first time he had seen the cubs, and exactly the same for me. That was the first time I had seen these cubs. So they are still very, very young, in the region of about 3 months old.
So cute, wasn't
It
it?
is absolutely incredible. So these cubs are at the age now, as I say, around 3 months old, where they would have just started following their mother around to kills that she had made, and they would have obviously started eating meat as well. But before this, they just would have been suckling from her. And then at the moment, this is a time of their lives where they're starting to eat meat, but they're also suckling from the mother. I don't know if you can see that cub quite well there, but you'll see a lot of like extra fluff on the back of its head, and that greyish fur running all the way down its back, all the way to the tail. This is quite a special little adaptation that these cheetah have got to help these cubs keep really, really camouflaged in the long grass while the mothers may be hunting. And as Jared said yesterday, some people even think maybe it's to help these little cheetah cubs maybe look like a honey badger to try and deter predators. But I think it's probably more likely that it's just for camouflage in this long grass. Or maybe a bit of both. Please, I know we've finished for the kids section for the day, but if any of you out there watching have any questions, because this is something really incredible to watch these little cheetah cubs, please send them through. Hello, Sam. Yes, these cheetah already would have grown teeth. They will be quite sharp little, almost kitten teeth still. Look, this one's coming down to the mother. Oh, no, it's not. It wants to guard the food. Oh, there's one that's come out in the road. Look at this. They're chasing each other. No way. This is incredible. Sorry, Sam, I'll continue with your question in a moment, but look at this. All three cubs out in the road in the morning sun, maybe just trying to warm up a little bit. Marcel, just shout if I can move the car for you at all. Yeah. I'm sorry, Sam, to continue answering your question. Yes, they do have very... Look at that. That is amazing how they're just like bounding over each other. Sorry, Sam, to continue your question. Yes, they do have teeth. You could see that one cub just now feeding off of the carcass, and they have to be able to have teeth to be able to start tearing off meat there. They are still going to grow a lot more, the teeth. They're going to get a lot bigger and stronger as these cubs grow older. But for now, they've got those little kitten teeth. Seems like the mother's just walking away into the long grass behind there, but there's still just the one cub feeding off of the nyala there. It seems like there's actually still quite a lot of meat on that carcass, which is surprising because they have been here. They were first found yesterday morning, so they have been here for over 24 hours now. This is so incredible to see such small little cheetah cubs. Hello, Chloe. You are asking how long cheetah will live for. In general, cheetah in the wild here. Oh, look at that little cub shaking the tail. Sorry. All the questions keep getting interrupted by the cuteness of this cheetah. Look at that. It's actually like dragging the tail around. It's like a big fluffy pillow. That is amazing. Sorry, Chloe. Oh, they're running off. Yeah, so a cheetah in the wild here will be lucky to live anywhere over 10, really, up to about 15 years old. That would be the most. This particular mother that we saw just now, the mother of these cubs, she's in the region of about 4 years old, if I remember right. And so this is actually her first litter of cubs. This is her first litter of cubs, and she's done very well so far to get these cubs all the way up to even to this age. I don't think you'll be able to see it with the camera, but there's a little family of warthog walking down the road towards us. It'll be quite interesting to see what these cheetah do if they see these warthogs. Right, we can't see any of the cheetahs for now, but we're just going to stick here. Let's see if they come back to this carcass, or they might even come back to this road like they were as soon as we got here. Let's hope, but this is so incredible to see, is it not? Hi, Ready Ruby. You're asking what the difference is in the gestation period of the cheetah like this, or a leopard. Cheetah, this female cheetah would have been pregnant with these little cubs for about 90 days, so that's 3 months. And a leopard is very, very similar to that as well. It's only about 10 days more than that, in the region of about 100 days. So both, and in fact, all the cats have very, very short gestation periods. Oh, there's actually a cheetah running back down here in the long grass. Maybe it's coming back to the kill. So they all have very short gestation periods, because you can imagine with any cat, with there being a mother, they have an obligation to obviously go out and catch food and kill and eat to get enough nutrients in their body to be able to produce good milk for these cubs. So they've got a very short gestation period so that they still are able to hunt. You can imagine how hard it would be for a big pregnant female to still be able to hunt and catch food to keep her going through that time. So they've got a very short gestation period, but then obviously the cubs end up being very underdeveloped when they're born, so they're kept hidden with all the cats for around about a month and a half or so before they start following the mother around to eating meat like this. So it's a very interesting part of the cat dynamics. Yeah, I can see there's a lot of movement kind of through the trees here. So I don't think you're really able to see these cubs well. Oh, wait, yeah, they're coming back. There we go, they're back at the kill. Look at this. It's like jumping up on the kill. And straight back to eating. Look at that. All three of them now are coming to eat. I don't know if you can hear in the background there, but the sun has just about 20 minutes ago crept up over the mountains to our east, and everything is starting to warm up. The tops of the trees are probably the warmest spots, so there's a lot of different birds out here this morning as well, sitting up in the trees warming up, and some of them probably out feeding, so there's some really beautiful sounds around here as well. And it's nice every now and then to just, for me as a guide, to keep quiet. You don't have to listen to my voice, and just to hear the nature around us. Oh, look at that, the one cub's got the tail again. This one little cub has actually found his own game now. He's obviously had enough to eat for the time being, and he's just on a playing mission with that tail now. I'm actually surprised the other cubs aren't almost fighting for it. Often when you have siblings like this, they want that becomes almost a prize, and the other cubs want to chase around and get that prize as well. All right, everyone, so I think this has been really, really special to see these cheetahs feeding. It's really been amazing. So now we're going to head across to Tswalu, where apparently the meerkats are just starting to come out of the burrows. Enjoy.
So Musadi is the big one on the right-hand side of the frame there. And by big, I mean in the best sense of the word. So the dominant female, Musadi, that's the name we all chose. You all chose. And you can see that it's still freezing cold. The sand that we're sitting on here is super, super, super chilly at the moment. It's unlikely that there would have been frost this high up because we're quite high up on a dune slope. You can actually see the mountains or the hills in the distance behind the Meerkats there. So we are quite high up, so it doesn't get that cold up here, but still cold enough to warrant them coming out a little bit later. And what was very interesting yesterday that we saw compared to the previous mornings, how little time they spent at the burrows after waking up. You know, normally they spend a substantial amount of time at the burrows, doing a bit of burrow maintenance, you know, warming up, whereas yesterday they actually went out pretty quickly. Now my guess there is that with this female, with the Musadi, now that she's got these small pups and she's lactating, she obviously needs to keep her energy levels up and getting a lot of food to be able to produce milk for the pups. And as we're moving deeper and deeper into winter months, obviously the food availability becomes more and more challenging, or more and more scarce. So it becomes more and more challenging to actually get enough food, and that would obviously impact on the amount of time that they spend around the burrows as opposed to out actually foraging for food. Gavin, that's a great question. How do we tell the meerkats apart? So in a group like this, that's a very small group. There's only 6 large meerkats in there, and of the large ones, there's actually only 2 full-grown meerkats. Like that one that was just stretching and yawning now, that's a youngster. The one to the left of it's a youngster, and Musadi is the one on the far right in the frame there. She's the alpha. So where it gets challenging though is when you get very big groups of meerkats, and I'm talking about 30, 40, they have been recorded in groups of over 50, which 52 I think is the biggest number ever recorded, and I think that may be kind of a little bit, that's not a normal size group. So for when a small groups like this, it's super easy to identify them just because the group is so small. You can look, as they get older, you sometimes get injuries on the meerkats, whether it's from, moving through thorn bushes or getting into fights or getting attacked by a predator. So some of them will end up with little scars, nicks, dings, bruises, scratches, a kinked tail. So you can do that. If you get to know them very, very, very well, you can actually see the stripe patterns on the back. You are able to actually identify individuals like that, but that certainly takes a lot of practice. I know there are places that have done some of the most amazing, in fact, the best research that's ever, and most intensive research that's ever been done. There's a meerkat to your right here, Chandra. Sorry, we're just looking. Okay, one popped out of a burrow like 1.5 meters from us, but don't worry about it. We're going to focus on the others. And so what they actually used in their studies, occasionally they used dark brown hair dye, organic hair dye, and yes, it was organic hair dye, and they just put small spots of hair dye just on the back of the meerkats in different places, and that enabled the researchers as they're moving around to actually see, okay, this is this one, this is this one, this is this one, because it can be quite challenging to identify the meerkats, and that's why that was a very interesting question that you asked there. So well done, thank you for that, Gavin. I don't know if I actually answered your question well, but that's in a nutshell. It's on these small groups, it's easy to identify individuals. On larger groups, it becomes more challenging. Neva, what noises do they make when they talk to each other or communicating? Okay, I'm not going to even try and mimic them now for two reasons. One, I'm a shockingly bad meerkat communicator. And secondly, I don't want to make any kind of try imitate meerkat noises when we're around a den site like this. But they've got a lot of different vocalizations. And some of them are these little chirping sounds that they use for communications when they're close together, or if they're trying to maintain contact. And then they've got a very big repertoire of alarm calls, depending on what the immediate threat is. Whether it's a bird of prey, and even for birds of prey, the alarm calls can be very different. I mean, you can get a bird of prey that's a really big threat to meerkats, and that's called a martial eagle. It's the biggest eagle that we have out here. And they have voracious appetites, well known for preying on meerkats. And if these meerkats see one flying in the distance, or even, and not even that far away, they will alarm call like crazy. And normally that alarm call will just prompt the entire group to just drop whatever they're doing and run underground. With the nearest balsal, they'll drop it. And then that alarm call would be different for a martial eagle that they see in the far distance perched on a tree that's no imminent threat. And those alarm calls will be different from one for a ground predator. So those are normally what we term barks. They'll give this little barking sound, but the rest of the time it's small little low-key chirping sounds. But they're very talkative normally. We're just going to spend time. One has already moved off, but it's still waiting for the others. Then we've got one at the burrow to our right, which you can't see in frame now, and then the three sitting there Jandre is focused on. And then to our left, we've got the babysitter that's actually going to stay behind, but he's probably going to go underground again shortly. But I think in the meantime, head back to Phinda and see how they're doing on the cheetah there.
Back to these little cheetah cubs. If you weren't with us just now, about 10 minutes ago or so, we came across to where we saw these cheetahs yesterday, and they were still here. There's still a bit of food, a bit of meat on this carcass, and they're still busy feeding this morning even. And it's been so incredible because, as I was saying earlier, this is only my second time to see these cheetah, and the first time was yesterday, so it's really been absolutely amazing.
We'll go on through, give us a shot, and we'll go through it. You want us to go back?
So you can see they're really digging right into the middle of this Ngala, trying to get into all that good soft meat under the skin there. If you have a look at these little cheetah as well, their ears are very small, and even when they're adults, those ears don't get too big. Out of all the cats, their ears are probably the smallest, and I'm sure most of you kind of associate cheetah with being more out in the open, in a big open grassland where they would rely more on sight to see anything coming, any potential danger or any potential prey. But these cheetah, as I say, with them being out in the big open grassland, they focus more on their sight for discovering things like that, not so much their hearing. Compared to, say, a leopard or a lion that's more usually in a thicker area with more trees, more cover, and they rely more on the... No way, look at it playing with that tail again. That is incredible to watch. It does look like the same cub that keeps playing with the tail, yes. It's very hard to distinguish between these three cheetah. They literally look exactly the same. Even at this age, it's very hard to see if they are male or female. You'll start seeing the size differences coming soon though, in the next couple of months. And we should start to see between, underneath the tail, whether they're male or female. But at this stage of their lives, they are very, very young. And they haven't grown properly, so it's very hard to see for now. AISJ, you're asking how old will these cubs be when they leave the mom? At the moment, they're in the region of about 3 months old, and they will be with her until they are in the region of about anywhere between 1.5 years and 2 years old. By that time, let's say it's 2 years old, they're going to head off by themselves. The mother will leave them alone, and no matter what sex they are for now, whether they're all males, females, or a mixture of the two, they'll stay together for a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months, just helping each other hunt, gaining those last vital few pieces of knowledge. Oh, here comes the mother back as well. Gaining those last few pieces of knowledge of how to hunt and how to catch prey easily. And then again, depending on the sex of the cubs, they're going to head off in their own way. The only way two of them or more will stay together is if there's 2 or more males. So if all 3 of these cubs, let's say for instance, were all males, they'll actually stay together for the rest of their lives, all together, all 3 of them, and form what's called a coalition. And in that way, it's much easier for 3 of them to hold on to a great territory and to be able to hunt and catch some bigger prey. But females, depending on how many females there are in this litter, they will always be solitary, so they will go off by themselves. So nice to see the size difference of the mother and the cubs, isn't it? Zachary, that's so funny that you're asking that question right now. I was just saying it's so nice to see the difference in the size, and it's perfect. Look at that, how you can see the cub almost underneath the mother, underneath the mother's belly. So it gives you a really nice size perspective of how small these cubs are. And they are really, oh, look at her dragging it. And they are really, really small. Look at this one close here.
I'd guess the mother to be about 45 and the cubs maybe 4 to 5 kilograms.
Yeah, I would say Marcel's right. Yeah, this mother will probably be in the region of about 45 or 50 kilograms. And the cubs are tiny. I mean, yeah, they must be 4 or 5 kilograms. They're very, very small. This little cub with the tail, with the prize. And I thought it was actually coming down onto the road, which would have been amazing, but it's gone back up towards where the others are.
Back to the safety of mom.
Yeah. But the mother's also got to have her turn to eat. She's got to keep getting, because she never knows when her next meal is going to be. It's very, very, you think even with all these adaptations that cheetah have to be able to catch prey successfully, the antelope are just as good at getting away. Alright, well we are going to stick with these cheetah a little bit longer and see if they maybe come out into the open for us. For now, though, we're going to take you through to Steve, who's got a leopard up in a tree.
So there we go. We discussed earlier about the comparisons between leopard and cheetah. Now you've seen some cheetah. Now we come straight to the leopard. You see the spots on the body, the rosettes? Around the head and neck, they are spots, but on the chest and body area, you see how they look like little rosettes with gold or bronze inside. You don't see those on a cheetah. Those are solid. And if we can get a look at Tundi's face, although it looks like she's been crying a little bit, we'll see that underneath her eye, in a moment, You'll see that there is not a long dark tear stripe. Tandy. There you go. It looks like she's had some wet eyes though, but it's not like that of a cheetah where there's a long black mark there. There we go. Okay, so she's well and truly eaten this impala now. It must have been a small one because we just watched her eating the hoof. I know, everybody, if you have the time and you have the inclination, please feel free to support us by going to the link below so we can continue to bring you wild and wonderful images from the African wilderness. We would thoroughly appreciate that. And got quite a belly in her, doesn't she? She's just getting the last little bit of meat out of that leg or hip, not quite sure. There's probably a very good chance that she had the kill much higher up and she's dropped it a couple times, or at least once. It looks like it on the tree going up to the right there, Darby. There's a few bit of scratches and marks on the tree itself where she's dislodged some bark. Looks like she had the kill much higher up. You see those sort of, there we go, right at the top of the screen. A little bit of bark has been chipped off there. And there another piece. It's possible that might just be the underside. But along the length, I can see a couple places where there's some claw marks. Can you see just on the bend there, Darby, just over here? Right on that little bend there. There's there on the left, you'll see where there's some blood. And you can just see the discoloration on the bottom of the screen onto the left, where it's been well and truly either been bled on there or been scratched. So she must have had it a bit further up, which makes sense because where it is now is a very precarious place. Even I could get up there and get it if I wanted to, but I wouldn't. But a lion could quite easily have stolen it. But once it gets to the sort of amount of meat that's left, there's no real point in them putting in an effort to take it further up. She's well and truly eaten. Look at that belly. Such a good hunter, Sandy. Such a good mum. Using the side of her teeth to cut and shear that flesh of the skin, the hide. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to stay with Tundi. Who knows what she's going to get up to in the meantime. Back over to the Meerkats of Kalahari, Tswalu.
So Jandre and I have just been thrown an immense curved ball on this meerkat group. So Morsadi has moved off in the far distance and we can barely see her anymore. But while we were sitting here, we've been looking at them this whole week. 6 meerkats, 2 adults, 4 youngsters, and we're obviously an unknown number of tiny pups underground. And then while we're sitting here, suddenly out of nowhere, another meerkat pops up to 7, and then suddenly another one pops up to 8. So we're like, okay, what's going on here? We don't know what's going on. And there's like a little bit of nervousness, but remember, those of you who were with us yesterday, we actually commented on the group seemed to be a little bit more nervous than usual. It just looked a little bit odd compared to the previous couple of days. So now suddenly this morning there's these 2 extra meerkats, and when we followed up with the meerkat habituator, she actually said, well, there should be 10 meerkats in this colony, not 6. So we've been seeing 6 the whole time, assuming it's the 4 sub-adults and 2 adults. They're saying there should be 6 adults and 4 sub-adults, and then an unknown number of the small pups. So something was definitely happening this week. Maybe the group got split up by a predator or something, we don't know. Buddy, that's certainly possible. We measured the surface area of this burrow complex yesterday, and it's just over 230 square meters with 35 like very clear entrances that we can count. And so, it's very, very open here, as you can see. So it's unlikely that we would have missed them exiting. But it could well be that. What you do get in meerkat groups is, and even with our habituated groups, because as a group starts getting larger and larger and larger, you can get animals that disperse. So you can get males that move off, and you can get females that move off, and they can actually create new colonies, if they're meeting up with members of the opposite sex, and they can create new groups. So even though you've got super habituated animals in a group, you can always have that chance of ones joining that are not habituated. And it may be that, over the past week, something like that's happened, or they're just not used to our presence. So the very habituated ones are, and maybe the others in the group aren't. And maybe now they're kind of just getting used to, okay, well, Dylan and Jandre are around every morning, so there's no issues there, and we're kind of coming back. But it just, again, that just highlights the fact is, never accept anything at face value in nature. You can read the best books, you can have the best research, you can speak to the best guides, you can, spend as much time photographing stuff as you want, filming stuff, but you're always going to get thrown these curveballs, and it'll always lead to further questions. So we're just loving this. I mean, it's like, I'd be very happy if another 6 meerkats popped up. But, so it just shows, it's every single day out is a learning curve, even for us, Jandre's nodding his head wisely there. The sage of camera work. And it's also encouraging. I'm quite happy to know that there's actually a bigger group, because it just increases the likelihood of pup survival. If you think about it, if you've only got 2 or 3 adults in a group, I mean, any predation event on those is a massive knock on the population and the ability to actually forage and look out for further danger effectively and keep pups alive. But with a group, if we're looking at 6 adults and 4 sub-adults, I mean, that's fantastic, because that means there's just more eyes and ears on the alert for danger, trying to figure out what's going on. But anyway, in a nutshell, we're still sitting with 8 animals here, and not the full 10 complement of 10 that apparently there should be. So the plot thickens. Felipe has just asked, what exactly do meerkats eat? And meerkats are they're insectivores primarily, but they will take pretty much anything that they can get hold of. They've been recorded many occasions digging up things like scorpions. So I guess an insectivore, we'd say it would be technically incorrect to actually say they are pure insectivores, because they're carnivores. So anything protein-wise, they will go for. Whether that's scorpions, spiders. We've watched them eating spiders. They'll dig up little geckos. So that's little vertebrates, basically. And so they've got a very, very wide range of prey items. But in turn, they also get eaten by a wide range of things as well. I have also personally witnessed them, the pups. Not in this group, because these pups aren't above ground yet, but I've seen pups eating flowers. At certain times of the year, these open areas around these burrow systems are carpeted, absolutely carpeted, with the most stunning display of yellow flowers. Very, very delicate, and you can actually eat those flowers. They're not toxic at all. And I've seen meerkat pups actually eating those. So again, all the literature will say these are carnivores. But actually, they wouldn't be averse to eating other things as well, if it was available and if they needed to. So while Jandre and I are doing our maths, because, counting up to 10 is quite challenging there, but there's 2 of us, so we should manage. So I think head over to Djuma and see what Tandi's up to.
Well, I would like that challenge. I've never spent any time with the cats. Go and count them. I wouldn't mind. Tandi's finished majority of her food, and she's now come down onto the ground to eat one of the bones that dropped. But she growled at the hyena that's in look at that eye. Does it always give you the chills when they look straight at you like that? I don't know if she's eating anything, Darby, there, or if she's just licking. She's cleaning herself. No, she's still got a leg. So she dropped, as I thought, she dropped a small piece of leg, and the hyena was on its way to come and get it, and she growled at it, and it decided to stay. A very well-behaved hyena. It's obviously tangled with Tandi before. Sitting in the back there. Can you see it coming now, Darby? Here it comes. Oopsie. It heard us saying that, and it came in. And she's now jumped up again, just into the very low reaches of this tree. Very quick how they can move like that. I have a question for you, Darby. Do you think you took your jersey off a bit early there? Darby, shirt. I'll think about it. The sun is coming out now. There's a wonderful amount of cloud cover. Let's come in again. Sorry about any audio issues there. I hope I've got them sorted now. I'm going to just drive around the corner here, Darby, so you can get a look at her face. Can I do that? Yep. Tell me when you're good, Darby. Okay, well, it looks like she wants to take her leg bone elsewhere. So while we wait and see what Tani gets up to, let's send you back over to the cheetah.
Okay. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve with Clive and Marcel. And just what we were waiting for. This mother's come a bit down from where that Ngala carcass is. And now we're just hoping that the cubs come down as well. There was one down here for about a minute, but it's just gone back up to carry on feeding. But I'm sure with the mother down here, I'm hoping that the cubs come down to her as well. But it's really nice to see her now out in the open. So what was happening while you were watching that apparently amazing sighting of the leopard is that we heard some alarm calls down in the valley on our right hand side from a Ngala, and some monkeys were both alarming, which means there's another predator relatively close by. And maybe that's why this mother's come out to the open now, where she can see a little bit better, she can see all around her, and just make sure that if there is another predator close by, that she'll be able to get herself and her cubs away quickly to escape the danger. Hi Remy Joe, you asking if she started off with 3 cubs or if she has lost any? Yes, so apparently, and again I hadn't seen them at this stage, but she had 4 cubs last time she was seen. At the moment now, as you can see, there are only 3, and yesterday morning was the same thing, so there were only 3. So unfortunately, I think what's happened is that one of the cubs has been killed or maybe got lost. I'm not 100% sure. But she definitely started off with 4 cubs, so there's one that's gone missing somewhere along the line. You know, with them being smaller, the smallest of the, or smaller of the big cats, they are unfortunately sometimes chased and killed by things like lions, leopard, even hyena. So yeah, they've got a lot. Even other male cheetah could be a threat to these little cubs. So yeah, they've got a lot to worry about, especially when they are this age. And it's probably the reason why cheetah have adapted to having so many cubs at once. You know, up to probably 6 sometimes. The most I've seen is 5, but up to 6 sometimes, to give, you know, at least some of them a good chance to make it through to adulthood. So far in the first 3 months of these cubs' lives, it looks like 1 has already been lost. But sometimes all of them make it up to adulthood. You know, I was explaining earlier that this is still quite a young female, still less than 4 years old. I think in the region of, anywhere between 3 and 4 years old. So it's not easy for her, you know, especially her first time. Sometimes they make mistakes, but they learn, they get more and more experienced as they get older. And they are better prepared to look after their cubs. So by the time a cheetah is having cubs, when she's older, she's much more experienced and very good at keeping them safe. Look at that beautiful pose and the color of her eyes especially. It's this beautiful, like, rich golden brown color. And I don't know if you can see how full her belly is as well. She's got a very, very, very full little belly there. And as I say, she's been eating here for over 24 hours, so I'm not surprised. It's like she swallowed a soccer ball. So the 3 cubs are still up at the carcass feeding. And this is obviously the mother down on the road here. I'm going to give you another moment of silence from my side, just to listen to all the different birds around. It's a really beautiful morning here this morning. The sun is starting to warm up and get a bit warm, but it was cold, icy cold this morning. You see how this mother is facing down the road, but her ears are pinned backwards. Can you see that? So her ears are pinned backwards because that's obviously where she can't see. Ooh, look at this.
Vehicle up top.
Shame, she just obviously turned around and thought she saw something. And remember, she's probably a little bit on edge because of those alarm calls earlier. So she just turned around and maybe she thought something caught her eye. And she gave a quick little alarm, and the cubs actually scattered as soon as she did that. You see how they are so good. If that mother warns them quickly, they are gone, and they'll hide very well in this long grass. Oh, look at this. Okay, I think the cubs are coming down to her. Oh, although is she going up to them? Okay, I think one of the cubs is going to pop out near her feet. There we go. Wait, no, don't go in. I'm sure you can see the little face in the long grass. Oh, it's turning, it's going back up with the mom. I guess you never know which way these little cubs are going to go, but normally they want to stick as close as they can to the mom. Oh, this one looks like he really wants to come out into the open. Maybe he's the one with a little bit more exploration in him than the others. Well, this has been an absolutely incredible morning with a quick lion sighting earlier, and then these beautiful little cheetah cubs again. We're going to be leaving this sighting and carrying on a little bit more. Let's see what else we can find this morning for you guys. But I hope you've really enjoyed these little cheetah again.
Yes, indeed. Although she's not the biggest of leopards, Sandy, she's a formidable leopard and very experienced. And we talk often about hyena and leopard interaction. She's come down again with the leg, and she's not concerned at all about that hyena. That hyena, obviously, her and they know each other. I haven't been able to identify it yet, but it's very standoffish. It stands back and just sort of watches her, hoping there'll be some scraps left. A bigger, more experienced hyena would run in and charge, because there's a benefit to the interaction, meaning it has a potential to scratch or to snatch part of the meal. There's not really much left there. But Sandy's making good work of that leg, which to me indicates it's probably a very young impala, because she's eating all of it. It was a bit easier to eat it on the ground than in the tree. Eating it like a dog would, holding it with the front paws and using the side of the teeth to crunch and rip. I'm just going to keep quiet and you'll be able to hear it. Keeps looking over at the hyena. Hello, Lana, age 8. Well, wild animals have the potential to kill people, of course. You just have to be very careful. And leopards have killed people in the past. They're not out to hunt people. Man has evolved on the African landscape with leopards. But if anything, if a leopard attacks somebody, there's a very good chance that person was doing something wrong. But leopards don't normally seek out humans as food, if that's what you're asking. But against a leopard, you've got a very slim chance of not coming off very badly injured if one attacks you. They're incredibly powerful. Just imagine a small little domestic cat attacking you, how much damage it can do to your skin. Now, add on 40 kilograms to get a female, and add on 60 to 70, 80 kilograms to get a male, and there's no chance. Pound for pound, there's the hyena again, pound for pound, they are the strongest cat. Very powerful jaws and teeth, and very, very powerful claws on both front and back feet. And the reason I say potentially dangerous is we regard them as potentially dangerous because if you leave them alone, they leave you alone. There's no need to get involved to get into interactions with them. And they've evolved on the African continent with man, and they actually have a natural fear of us. So if you come across a leopard out on a walk, they will 99% of the time run away, and you might not even see them. But the problem comes in when they've got food or when they've got cubs. That's when they can become potentially more dangerous, because the cub's got nowhere to go to, and it sees you as a threat, and it's very easy for the adults to run away, but not the cub. So you never get between a mother and her offspring in any species. Okay, very good. Well, it looks like the meerkats are standing up and having a look around. I wonder what they see.
So they're starting to move off foraging. The individuals that Genre's focused on now, there's ones even further out to the right-hand side, actually tucked away in the grass. You can't see them. They're about 30, 40 yards distance from these ones. So yeah, I've just been chatting to one of the meerkat habituators, and it's becoming more and more interesting. So remember we said, well, actually, this whole week there's only been 6 individuals, 4 sub-adults and 2 adults. And now this morning, suddenly there's another 2. And Rebecca was saying, well, there should actually be 10. And when I said, we're not confirmed now, and said, well, there's definitely only 8. She said, well, actually, one of the other meerkat colonies down the road, they are not habituated. They like still quite a long way to go before they're properly habituated. But she says, yesterday there was 2 individuals that from outside that arrived in that group. So maybe what's happened here is you got this group got to about 10. The environment can support, maybe it can support a group of 10 is the optimal here. We don't know that for sure. And then they started moving off, so splitting up. So that could well be that what's happened this week is there's been a dispersal pattern taking place over here, and 2 of them actually moving away to another group. But, again, this is me just kind of speculating here. They're quite nervous, eh? You see those tails going up? Joe, meerkats can definitely have territorial fights, and they actually perform what is known as the war dance. It's incredible. You see these meerkats that we got in frame here. You see how they're walking with that kind of like weird gait, with their tails up like that. A lot of scent marking going there. You see that bounce. That's classic. So if you've got other meerkat colony encroaching on a territory, the 2 different groups will actually bounce together like that, with their tails up, jumping towards each other, growling, making little barking sounds. And that's known as the war dance. And typically, the groups will disperse after it, and obviously the larger group will take on a smaller group. But if the groups are evenly matched, there'll be a lot of this displaying up and down, and then they'll move apart. So, yeah, they will definitely defend their territories against other meerkats, and even fighting very, very aggressively if it comes to that, if required. Sure, a lot of scent marking going on there, a lot of displaying going on. And those of you who joined us on this journey yesterday morning, remember we actually said how nervous they appeared to be yesterday morning, which was unusual for what we'd been seeing the previous couple of days. So, and now there seems to be this, there must have been a split that we weren't even aware of, and animals have now come back in, seeing this heightened kind of behavior this morning. So it's all pointing to something having happened in amongst this group. Very interesting, eh? Nicole, do meerkats get a winter coat? Not to my knowledge, but like most of these animals, they will kind of shed their hair through the year and just keep on regrowing. But I've seen to my eye, I've seen no obvious difference between summer and winter coats on meerkats. And again, I stand completely to correction, and I'd be happy if anyone has an opinion on that. Chandra is just saying that he grows a winter coat. But I think in the meantime, let's head over to Steve and Tundi and see what they're up to on that side.
Well, thanks, Dylan. All the way from the west back to the east. Tundi's still enjoying the leg bone, and it seems now, the way she's still feeding, that it's actually a bigger impala than I thought initially, because she's breaking bones, but there's still going to be a few bits of shard there that haven't been eaten. But without seeing the rest of the animal, it's impossible for me to tell you exactly how big it was. It's also possible that she stole it off somebody else. Maybe a hyena made the kill. I really don't know, because she's made really short work of it. Haven't seen the skull, haven't seen many of the other bones. So lots of things to consider. It's always easy to sort of identify the age if you can see horns, but without horns, without a face, impossible. Hello, Pete and Terry. You want to know why leopards have rosettes? Well, essentially, what this camouflage is a disruptive marking. Now, spots, for the most part, are not uncommon in the wild, stripes and spots. But the leopard is, for the most part, a bushveld specialist. So if Dave comes back a little bit there, you'll see that the rosettes themselves help to blend and to break up the background. So the leopard itself, with those rosettes and the gold in between, makes it look as if you're looking through a bush. There's shadows, you can seemingly see grass behind the shadow, which is actually the fur underneath the rosette. So the camouflage is incredible, and over a very long time, evolutionary, that design has come forward. Whereas in the cheetah, it stayed with spots, and obviously through their habitat, that is how it's worked. But it's a very good question. Okay, well, it sounds like someone's found some jackal. Let's quickly send you over to those canines.
So we just found some jackal. We're just trying to find them again on the screen. So go a little bit right from here, Owen. I think there we go. So we found some black-backed jackal. So we still were looking for the lions until now, and they've moved into an area where it's so hard to see the tracks, and they've just been maneuvering on and off the road, on and off the road. So we're still trying to find any other signs of them. But then we found this whole family of jackals. So there's quite a few. I think we counted 4 jackal here. You can see the one laying down there, and just off to the right, there's one now that's moving there. And what's interesting with jackal is often, I think these ones are just laying in the open because there was a little bit of sun early on just to warm up. But whenever they move like that, of course, they'll look out for any opportunity to possibly scavenge. But also if there's like any mice or any small mammal that might move, of course, they'll see that as an opportunity for breakfast. See, the other one will come and join up soon. But you'll notice those big round cup-like ears. What they'll do is they'll focus that towards certain areas where the grass is tall, or maybe where there's a big stump or cluster of shrubs together, and all they're trying to do is listen out for any bit of movement. I think what they might be doing now is, because of the wind blowing, they're just lying down so that they're in a bit of cover. Because earlier on the sun was out, so then they stood and you could see they were warming themselves. And with it cooling down again, so today the sun has been on and off with the clouds. Yeah, I think if you go right there, Owen, there's also one lying down. Oh, there's two of them actually. But I think it's just trying to warm up. And you'll see there's a little patch of sun that's coming through there. So it might be that they will lie down for the next little while, wait for it to warm up, and then from there probably start moving around. Very well hidden. Look at the camouflage. If you look at the color of the grass, so if any of the viewers have any questions, please feel free to send them and we'll try and answer them to the best of our ability. Now, if you look at the color, how well do they not blend in? That black on their back often reminds me, if you look just to the right of where they are, and I'm going to ask just to the right, you'll notice that there's quite a few dead branches and that are lying horizontally on the ground, and so that black resembles that, and of course the little bit of brown on the side resembles the grass. Of course that patch of white often resembles these these little patch of white streaks of grass in between this big open area that we are in now. I think everyone will probably hear in the background the wind is starting to pick up quite a bit, and it's with the wind picking up, often what animals do is they tend to move into denser cover, so that's why we haven't seen too much while driving this morning. I think all of the animals are actually just moving into a bit of shelter as we speak. The jackal do have like a type of bark. I won't say it's like a howl, it's more like a bark. You'll often hear them at night. They have like this bow, bow, wow, wow. It's hard to imitate it. I reckon if someone had to step on my toe, I'd probably be able to do it. And I wonder with this family here if it's possibly like the mother and the father and then a few of the youngsters. Now the youngsters have grown. I remember there was a family here where there was a mom and dad and then there were 4 youngsters, but they almost look the similar size now. I think these 2 that are lying down off to the left might even be the youngsters, because the ones off to the right look slightly bigger. Dylan, so I've seen jackal hunting quite a bit of mice. So whenever you sometimes follow them, especially at night, if they do hunt, you'll see them moving to a bush and then surrounding a bush, and then anything that comes out, they'll try and take it. But scrub hares, possibly if there's any birds around, nesting birds that they could possibly surprise. But also they scavenge quite a bit. So any wild dogs that move through an area, if they make a kill, they'll go and grab bits of pieces, or even if there's lion or leopard that might have killed something. So they scavenge quite a bit. But they're also known to eat insects, as well as there's a tree here called the jackalberry tree. And where the jackalberry got its name from, of course, were jackals feeding off the berries. So it's very interesting. They do have quite a mixed diet that they follow. But if they can, of course, they'll try for any small mammal, probably their size and smaller. But scrub hares, mice, any bird possibly. If they do stumble across an egg, they'll try and, of course, make use of the opportunity. Looks like this one is grooming itself. But you'll notice, even though their heads are down, look at how those ears are up and like constantly moving around to make sure there's and listen out for any other possible danger in the area. But I do really enjoy jackal. I think one thing that really stands out for me with them is their social structure, how a male and a female will stay together for life, so they form a pair bond. And always within an area they'll have that specific area that's just theirs. And then of course the youngsters, eventually when they start growing up, they'll start going their own separate way. But then at least you know when you go into an area, you might be able to identify those individuals for quite a while until one of them or both of them gets pushed out or possibly eventually pass away from old age. Then, so normally with the from what I've seen, and especially in this area as well as some other parts like the Free State province in South Africa, the Western Cape, so they don't have exactly a set time for it. I do know the gestation period is only 75 days. But there's, in some areas, they might be limited based on the food that's available. So you might find in May, June, that they could possibly start looking at having young, but most of the time it could be right throughout the year. It all depends on the availability of food and of course pressure coming from other predators and that. But I think for now, it doesn't look like they're going to be heading anywhere pretty soon. So we're going to carry on. There's quite a few beautiful open areas in front of us. Just see if there's any chance of possibly wild dog or cheetah in the area. But I think while we do that, we're going to send you across back to Thandi.
Thanks, Nikki. I hope you find your cheetah. Always wonderful to have jackal. I know many of our viewers that watch the show love it when we bring jackal on the screen. We get far fewer here on Djuma than we would like. But we're just going to reposition. Thandi's been sitting beautifully there, watching, or should I say eating, that leg bone. And now as soon as you come to us, she's moved around. But I'd also like to make another point that Dave has conceded to the cold and he's put his jacket back on. It's a little bit chilly, a little bit of a nip in the air. Just going to reverse all the way around as we are, back around the tree and get you a nice frontal, beautiful, beautiful Thandi. Tell me when you're happy with that, Davy. Oh, it's time to clean. This is going to be wonderful. Right there. There we go. Joined by another vehicle in the sighting. There we go. The cleaning. This is always a process after the eating. I spend an enormous amount of time cleaning the blood off of the face by using that exact technique. It was so interesting with Shadulu the other night, how she spent so much time cleaning, and then first opportunity she got, she rolled in buffalo dung. Obviously, clean to one is not the same as clean to somebody else. I thought about going and having a bath and then rolling in some dung. Sounds amazing. Hello, Dylan. In my time here, Thandi has crossed into a few reserves. She spends a lot of time in Djuma, but in saying that, she also spends a fair bit of time in Torchwood, and she's also gone down into Chitwa as well as Little Gowrie. I'm not sure if she's gone west to the Simbambili or Athusa side. I've never known her to go that far. And she probably even crosses into Buffelshoek a few times. So within the Sabi Sands, there's a number of private reserves that are all joined together with no fences internally. And we are right on the eastern side of Djuma at the moment, not far from the Torchwood boundary. And her territory seems to encapsulate a lot of where we are right now, but it does also roll over onto Torchwood, where she spent the last little while, I believe, with her cubs. She's only recently come back onto Djuma with said cub, and now we're very close to the boundary once again. Had her track heading across towards Torchwood yesterday, but then I saw it coming back pretty much towards where we are now, but I ran out of time last night to really spend any good time trying to figure her out where she might have been in. After dark or towards dark, we don't really attempt to even try view cubs. So we moved away and just kept looping to see if we could find where that elusive mating pair has gotten to. But in saying that, you say the word, how many reserves does she go into? She doesn't see it as that, of course. She just crosses these roads which serve as boundaries, and wonderful in that, because the roads serve as wonderful tracking identification spots. The roads are generally quite sandy, and you can also gauge time frame. For example, Tristan came into this area this morning and found my vehicle tracks with her tracks on top, which gave a very good indication of freshness. So cats, most of our cats love to use the roads, seeing them as massive big game paths, because a game path is a very easy way to walk and to cover distance, and to do it silently without thorns and vegetation impairing or impeding one's movement. But in saying that, when they do get into these blocks, it sometimes becomes extremely difficult to find out exactly where they are. So we're going to just enjoy a little moment of silence while we watch the Queen clean herself. It is difficult, I'm afraid, to have moments of silence sometimes. Yeah, a bit of talking in the background. I do apologize for that. Don't forget, everybody, we'd love to hear from you. Send any questions you might have to #WildEarth. Throw them in the YouTube chat stream or on Twitch. See if we can get a few more questions in the next 37 minutes. Oh, she's calling. That's what we call chuffing. It's a contact call, normally between mother and cub. But why, oh why, Tundi, would you try and call a cub when there's a hyena just over here in front of us? Well, she's obviously not bothered. There's another leopard, yeah? This is Tlalamba, everybody. There's another leopard in the sighting. I think it's Tlalamba. It's very likely that Tlalamba made this kill initially. Is that Tlalamba, Darby? That looks like her, eh? Hello, gorgeous. Oh, up she goes. Now, I've been watching and looking around. Let me move forward here. Or are you happy with that spot? Forward, eh? Hang on. Yeah, that's Tlalamba. That's her daughter, everybody. Princess Tlalamba. Now, I've been looking around and I didn't even see her. She just stood up out of the long grass over there. Now, it's not uncommon for Thandi to steal from her daughters. It's possible that some interaction has taken place between these two. Hello, Princess. Is that Tlalamba? Hang on a second. I thought it was her. Yeah, I think it is. Those viewers out there who watch the show can confirm for me if you agree. Thandi is not happy right now. We've got two leopards and a hyena here. There goes Thandi. Go. She's scent marking. She's telling Tlalamba, this is my spot. What are you doing here? Sorry, I didn't hear what Beck said. Am I ready to turn down? Yes, it's very hard to sometimes keep tabs on everything that's going on out of nowhere. I mean, you saw her chuff. There goes Tlalamba again with the bone. She's up the tree. She's got no food in her belly. She's hungry. Oh, that is what Djuma does, everybody. That is the Sabi Sands for you there. You can have one leopard and you can have two. Thandi is busy calling. There's a familiarity between a leopard and her previous cubs. Thandi was always a little bit sort of standoffish with Tlalamba, even when she was her cub, but they have a very good relationship with each other as far as leopards go. Darby, I think I'm going to follow Thandi because she's busy chuffing over there. Excuse me. So now it becomes a two sightings. Remember, if she takes us to her cub, it'll be a one vehicle sighting for the drive. So the tracks definitely indicated this morning or yesterday that her cub was here within the area, but not here. She's busy sniffing under the bush. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on here. I'll send you over to andBeyond and Ngala with a large giraffe.
So we just came to the other side of the river and we found this beautiful male giraffe. He's very dark in color and also he's not camera shy. He just came into the open area now. He's Well, as I said that, of course he'll be moving. He might just be maneuvering himself around the bush to try and get it from a different angle. But I think a few drives ago, we saw this giraffe, or possibly some of the other rangers would have seen it. You'll notice on his, there's a big patch of, looks like the hair is missing. That might have been from running under a branch, and it could have scraped the back. I don't think it would have been from fighting, but it's very interesting. Could have been maybe something else. But have a look at that oxpecker, how it's just using that bill in and combing through the hair to try and find some of the ticks. But he's quite a majestic male. If you look at also the very top of his head, you'll see the horns are very well worn out, like the very top, so quite bald. So he's probably had quite a few fights as well. If you look around his eye, you'll notice there's a few scars, and I don't think it from branches, could have even been from fights previously. But you'll notice he's very dark, but once you get close to his neck, it almost looks like he has a white collar, very light coloured ears, and then a little patch from his mouth all the way to his eye. There's a little streak of white. Just look at how he's using that tongue to maneuver around those thorny branches just to pick up those leaves.
Well, sorry, it seems that we have a little bit of a technical glitch, and so you're back with us on Cheetah. Since we were kicked out of our own leopard sighting, we decided to see if we could go and find something else, and we've been tracking leopards and lions all morning on Cheetah, but unfortunately they all cross south into our nets. So we decided to come to the hippos. We got a little baby hippo with mom, which is always nice to see. I think this is the one that David had the other day, and so nice to kind of see it, and it's probably why she's lying right up close to the edge of the water at the moment. That little baby will need somewhere quite shallow in order to be able to suckle from mom and to be able to kind of sit comfortably without having to be sort of swimming the whole time or trying to balance on mom's back. And so shallower water is best. Now, this particular hippo is also going to be quite defensive of this little one at some points. You'll find the other reason that they come up into these shallow sections like this is to try and stay away, particularly from younger males that potentially could be challenging the females challenging the older males for mating rights. Then you'll find that they can sometimes, lash out at the little babies and kill them. So she tries to separate herself a little bit, to establish a bond with that little baby, and generally in the most shallow water possible. And so while her back will stick out for the majority of the day and she'll have to roll a little bit to try and keep her back wet, it's much easier for the little one to survive and to have a much easier time of it in the shallow water. Like I said, won't have to tread water that much, which is good. So Rebecca is saying that apparently her ears are very, very hairy. Something that people don't really notice very often is that they do have hairy ears, as well as these little moustaches. As we know, there's a hippo at Simambili Dam, which we've decided to call Tom Selleck, due to the moustache that he has. So they do have quite a lot of hair on their ears and on their noses, which, like I say, often goes unnoticed. And for vast majority of the time, people don't even recognize. And it's really cool sometimes to see when they walk in their tracks that they've got, these little hair marks. Actually, when they sort of put their nose down and they're walking along, you can actually see the little whiskers dragging in the sand, which is super cool. It's a nice track that they have. Now, this little one, you'll notice it'll go up and down quite a bit, and that's because it's actually able to suckle in the water. So it goes down under to where mom's udders are, basically, or nipples, and she'll then suckle from there. I say she, it could be a little he as well. Difficult to sex a hippo at that age. And so, suckling underwater, which is pretty cool. And then if it gets really cold, then they'll come out onto the bank. But majority of their time will be spent in little sheltered bays like this. It's a perfect little place to raise a baby hippo. And she seems fairly chilled. I'm quite impressed, actually, with how chilled she is with us. I would have expected her to be a little bit kind of nervous of us being here, and often when you kind of come down, because I didn't see the baby at first, obviously it was just a hippo lying by itself, but when you come down to these water holes, the moms can sometimes be a little bit protective. But you see how she kind of puts herself between the baby and the deep water, and she'll just kind of usher the baby along to wherever she wants the baby to be. So whether that's pushing it back closer to the shallows, or if it's to try and keep it away from the hippo in the background or away from us, she'll be able to kind of guide that little one by just going up against it and slowly using her bulk to push it from side to side. Very peaceful at Chitwa this morning. We had guinea fowl that went absolutely crazy at one point, and we had tracks, Egyptian geese to ruin the mood. So they're always making a noise. But we had Egyptian guinea fowl that went crazy, and lots of tracks. Like I say, we had tracks for lions, tracks for leopards, very, very fresh. Scat for Kuchava and what looked like her cub, as well as a male leopard that's been walking around. So we've been trying really hard, but a lot of the tracks went south, and one set of male tracks went into an area where we just don't get signal on Chitwa, so we turned off those as well. But it was an absolute fest of tracks in one of the junctions. It was really actually quite cool to see. Difficult to make them all out, but very cool. Ready, Ruby? No, not really. You won't see hippos lying on their backs. If you look at a hippo, if you look at the one that's sitting there, you notice that its organ or sensory organs all sit on a certain plane. So you've got nose, eyes, and ears in a pretty much a straight line. And so what that means is that is their ability to breathe, see, and hear. Now, if they lie on their back, that's all going to be underwater, and they then going to drown, or not going to be able to hear or see anything that is around them. So what you'll find is that they very seldom roll on their backs or lie on their backs, but they do roll. So sometimes you'll find them just rolling and their feet going up into the air and then coming back over again, but it's only for a few seconds. It's really not a long period that they roll around like that. They typically try and kind of stay right way up, and what you see there from that hippo is what they do 99% of the time that they're in water, is that's how they lie. When they come out and they lie on the banks, then you'll sometimes see them on their sides, but never lying on their backs. No wonder everyone's complaining. There's an African Harrier Hawk coming over. Here it is. Don't know if BK will get. It's difficult to mint. Don't know the name. Hardtail, long bob. Birds going crazy. Typically these guys flying up. Maybe what fowl could very well be. Did it grab something there? The legs came down. Sometimes they'll hawk little insects and stuff. It's not hunting the swifts that are flying around, the little swifts that are kind of mobbing it a little bit. It wasn't hunting those, but it almost looked like it grabbed something in midair. Very seldom do they put their legs down like that. Ah, it's landed. I wonder if it will stay there. Nice beak. Well done, buddy. Yeah, nice. Very nice to see these guys. Maybe we can try to get a closer look just now. We'll kind of head in that direction because it's landed. I know are a favorite of a lot of you. A lot of you like these African Harrier Hawks. Really interesting to watch these birds and kind of fly from tree to tree, foraging and looking for things, and basically just trying to find all kinds of food items that are exposed in holes and under bark which they use their feet to be able to grab and pull out. And so watching them hunt is really cool. It's actually why I'm a bit surprised it didn't land on the dead tree closest to us. So you would have seen, you can just see to the right of the frame there's a dead tree. Now that's a perfect hunting spot for an African Harrier Hawk. They often land on those and then they walk up and down the branches hanging with their wings out, and then they just pull off bits of bark and they try and, like I say, get to scorpions, baby squirrels, baby birds, grubs, whatever they can really find, that's lizards that are hidden underneath those areas, and then eat them. So really cool to watch, and like I say, hang with their wings down. So it's quite indicative when they're hunting. Nice. What I haven't seen this morning is the fish eagles, which is strange. Generally they're around as well. But I haven't heard them this morning, haven't seen them, which is quite strange. Right, well, we're going to carry on. In the meantime, let's send you back to those leopards.
Well, there we go, everybody. Her calling has come to fruition. I'm just going to be quiet, let you listen. Maybe 60 meters or so from where the kill was. She's been calling, and the cub is just there. There it is. Now, there's a small marula tree behind us that Leopard had a kill in already. Just going to reposition around this bush. The kill was in the tree behind us before. Stomach content is strewn all over the ground. There's a smell of death. Fur plucked out on the ground. I'm just going to stop right here. And you're going to see them walk across us there, mum and cub, with older daughter behind us still on the tree. Very special. That is very special. Those of you who would like to, please send through a little one-word tweet. Tell us how it makes you feel seeing a little leopard cub. Here comes Kalamba, everybody. Kalamba's very interested to know who's the new love. Here we go, watch it. That is Thandi chasing her away. Even an old offspring is still a risk to her cub. We're not going to move. We're going to just sit right where we are now. Allow Thandi to come back. The cub is hiding now somewhere over here. We don't want to have to move and interfere with anything here. That was Thandi chasing away her previous cub. Kalamba's just inquisitive. Okay, she's coming back. Sorry about the aerial. It was a bit of a half-hearted charge. It wasn't as much noise as you'd expect. But it's just curiosity. It's curiosity. And that goes to show why we've had the amount of tracks up and down. I've got a very strong feeling Kalamba made that kill. And that's why there were more than one set of tracks, 2 different female tracks. And Thandi probably came and stole it from her. All Kalamba wants to do is just catch up with her little offspring, her younger sibling, and say hi. It's not uncommon for these interactions to happen between female leopards. The mother will carve out a piece of the territory, give it to her cub. There, she's scratching, letting Kalamba know that that wasn't okay. And the cub instinctively knows, due to Thandi's behavior, that it needs to hide. So I don't even know where it went to, but we're not going to do anything from here. We're just going to sit and wait. Thandi's going to come back eventually and probably move the cub further away from this area due to the fact that there is a hyena, there is another leopard. So very strong possibility they'll be in a slightly different area this afternoon, which means all that hard work is going to have to be redone. Hopefully she picks that line. That's going to be a nice line. She comes through there. There we go. Thanks, Thandi. You're so accommodating sometimes. Hello, Harsha. I mean, there's no set sort of time frame. Obviously, the cub needs to suckle, but, leopards and lions have been known to go for a few days, leaving their cubs. Obviously, the longer you leave them for, the more at risk they become to other predators, and also they get hungry, they lose condition. So I've heard stories of lionesses leaving their cubs for almost 2 weeks before coming back, but that's an extreme sort of case. She will essentially, if she makes a kill, go to the kill and then come back to the cub at least every day, sometimes twice a day. Kalamba's right where Thandi was, and she's busy smelling her urine. Smelling exactly where Thandi was. Let's see if she picks up a Flehmen grimace. Flehmen grimace is that response they do when they sniff urine. She should lift her head up. There we go. Pulling back the lip. We call that the Flehmen grimace. It's a way of these individuals, many animals can do it, of showing or accessing the organ of Jacobson, which is in the roof of the mouth, and then communicating exactly what's going on with the individual whose urine they're smelling, sexual status, all that sort of thing. Okay, so Thandi is just coming around the bush that we first had her coming around. She hasn't called again. She's going to call her cub once more, but Tlalamba is following her. So this could lead to another altercation. But no doubt, although we missed it, where Thandi caught up with Tlalamba, no doubt Tlalamba either ran away or she rolled over onto her back and showed submissive behavior. That is what she would do if she wanted to get closer. But when Thandi has got a cub, she doesn't play nicely. It is the way of the leopard world. Very good. Well, we're going to stay right here and see if we can bring you some more action. In the meantime, back over to andBeyond Phinda. I think they've got some more giraffe.
Welcome back again. As you can see, we have come across 2 giraffe. They're both just walking through these beautiful open grasslands here. And I know that giraffe are always a firm favourite of people that come and visit us here at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, or any game reserve really. Hello Max, you are asking how giraffes sleep. It's actually very interesting. During the night, often there'll be a group of giraffe around, which is called a tower of giraffe, by the way. And there'll often be 1 or 2 of them up, standing up and on a bit of watch, making sure that there's no predators coming. But a lot of the others will lie down on the ground, sometimes with their necks standing upright, or sometimes even with their necks folded all the way around and resting on their rump. And that is how they rest. But they don't sleep, I suppose, the same way we do, where you're fast asleep. They're always still awake and always still aware of what's going on around them. Because you can imagine with a giraffe lying down, it's at quite a disadvantage. There could be it'll be a lot easier for something to surprise it while it's down, and it might take a few seconds for the giraffe to stand up. So it's quite vulnerable when it's lying down like that. But that's a very good question. Thank you. Oh, there's 2 birds that have just flown in onto this giraffe's neck. Now those birds, I don't know if you can see closely enough on the camera there, but they've got bright red beaks. And those are called red-billed oxpeckers. And what they're doing, obviously, with giraffe moving around through lots of grass and through trees and rubbing up against trees, they'll pick up little parasites called ticks. I'm sure you've seen them on these birds on lots of other animals as well, buffaloes, rhinos, all the antelopes like impala and kudu. But these 2 oxpeckers have chosen this giraffe, and it's going to hop around there and see if there's any ticks or parasites that it'll be able to clean off the giraffe. So if you have a look at the giraffe on the right hand side, the one walking straight towards us, Rama, that's a very good question. How many stomachs does a giraffe have? They are what we call ruminants, so they have 4 stomachs. So what they'll do is they'll eat leaves off of a tree and swallow it down, and those leaves will be processed in one of the stomachs, and it'll actually regurgitate. See the one on the right, how it's just chewing now, just standing in one place and chewing. So it's actually just regurgitated a ball of half-digested food back into its mouth, and it's chewing it again, and you'll see in a few seconds it'll swallow it back down, and then it'll go through the other 3 stomachs and then come out as dung on the other side. But if we keep watching it, look closely at its neck. When it stops chewing, you can actually sometimes see the little cud ball going down its throat. Oh no, it's a bird hard to see. Hello Maggie, what a great question. Why is a giraffe's neck so long? So you can imagine with so many different animals being out here, out in the African landscape, that there's a lot of competition for food. So there's some animals that have learned to eat grass, and in those sometimes even different animals eat different types of grass or different lengths of grass. And then there's other animals that eat leaves off of trees. Now a lot of the antelope from impala, which are quite small, will eat quite low down on a tree, to maybe a bigger antelope like a kudu will eat a little bit higher up on a tree, and then finally a giraffe that will be able to reach high up on a tree where no other animals are able to eat. So they've just kind of changed over time to be able to reach high up into the trees, to get at different leaves that other animals aren't. They're not competing with other animals for those leaves. It's a really interesting little adaptation, isn't it?
Another interesting thing, that might be a very large vertebrate, but the smallest known vertebrate is actually a frog from Papua New Guinea, and it's the Pedophrine amaruensis.
Look at that, our fun fact from Marcel for the day. Thanks, Marcel.
It's only about 7.7 mils long.
That's tiny, 7.7 millimeters. The reason we came back to this area here, kind of on our way back towards the lodge, is there's a big mountain up on our right hand side, and there were actually someone that drove past here said there were some lions up there, but as soon as we got here they had disappeared. So but then we luckily saw some giraffe here, which is really nice. So this one as well that the camera is focused on, you can see it's just chewing, even though it hasn't eaten any leaves recently, it's just chewing that half digested food that we were talking about a few minutes ago. Oh, there you go, the oxpeckers just flown away. And what we are going to do is we are going to leave these giraffe and we're going to send you across to Tswalu. Apparently he is looking for some cheetah.
So very, very exciting. One of our tracking teams is actually located on a leopard kill in the top of the sociable weaver nest, this big tree in front of us. You'll actually see the nest there, and Jandra is just zooming in. You'll see it coming up now. There we go. Looks like a grey duiker. It's very, very difficult to see from here, just the remnants, but it seems to be 2 sets of tracks, apparently a male and a female. Unfortunately, a duiker between 2 adult leopards is not going to go very far. And it has been freshly fed on, and it's unlikely. I mean, it could be that they're still tucked up somewhere in the tree. I mean, they are past masters of camouflage, but it's very, very difficult to see from here, because I mean they could even be lying on the other side. You know, they could be tucked up on the other side of that nest. Apparently there are tracks heading out away from the tree, heading west. you know, if that is a dike, and it's very difficult to see from here, so we're not going to approach too close. We're just going to make an arc around the tree further to the east, and see if we can get a different angle from the other side. This may be a very, very, very good option for this afternoon's game drive, and not necessarily for leopard only, but even for things like brown hyena maybe. This is really, really exciting to see this, so sure. So I'm just going to move, we're going to move slowly around to the right hand side. I think while we're trying to get this, Steve is doing a far better job in terms of actually having leopard sightings, so I think head over to him and enjoy that sighting while we try to follow up here.
We do indeed. Thanks, Dylan. I hope you managed to catch up with whoever's put that meat in the tree. Very cool to see Kalahari leopard. Well, Thandi is calmed down a bit. She came back to her cub. They've moved back over to the thickets, but Tlalamba followed her again, as you last saw. We don't have visual, we can't see the cub, and we can't see Tlalamba at the moment, but Tandi's behavior is indicating that Tlalamba's nearby. But now she's calming down, and she's cleaning herself. Last few minutes she's just been making these growling noises in the direction that she's facing, and the last time we saw the cub was a little bit more towards behind her, so the right of the screen. And I've no doubt that cub's feeding off Thandi's behavior right now and making itself very concealed. JS, just first of all, we believe that the cub is a boy. So, but to carry on with your question, would the cub, her boy, be a threat to Tlalamba? Well, you know, it's very hard to say. You know, I mean, leopards have been known to attack and kill cubs. It's what happens. But also bear in mind that they can also play a little bit rough, even if they're trying their best intentions, just to have fun. Davy, the cub's on the right there. Just to have fun with the cub. Then they could potentially injure it. So, you know, leopards are very sort of antisocial cats. The only time they drop that antisocial barrier is when they have a cub or when they're going through a bit of a mating period. But they don't like anyone near their cub. Everything is a threat. Everything. And the cub feeds off that behavior. So the cub's learning that mum doesn't want Auntie Tlalamba nearby or big sister Tlalamba nearby. And so its behavior has understood that. She seems to be very okay with us, as you can tell. Thandi is not concerned with us at all, and her behavior of licking and grooming has told the cub that everything is okay again, and that's why it's come out. So, yes, leopard cubs are at risk in the first few months of their life up until they turn 1. That is the hardest sort of once they're over that hurdle. Now, though, being able to climb a tree, they're definitely at a safer sort of vantage point. But Thandi won't allow anything near her cub. They all are a risk. I don't think Tlalamba's a risk, but, you know, Thandi disagrees. It is the first time, though, that Tlalamba's, or I don't know if Tlalamba saw Thandi's previous litter that she unfortunately lost. I don't know if Tlalamba met them, but she's just inquisitive. Just wants to see who's the new apple of Thandi's eye. It's understandable, isn't it? Maybe a little bit of jealousy. It's possible a bit of jealousy could lead to a previous offspring killing a cub. I'm not sure. Horrible to think, though. But it's a very, very wild place. And yet it has been a wonderful morning. Now, I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves today. We've thoroughly enjoyed bringing you some wonderful views from Djuma Private Game Reserve. There's been cheetahs from all over. There's been lions. There's been leopards. A smorgasbord of big characters. And well done, Tristan, for finding Thandi this morning. And we do thank you for your questions and comments. We will be seeing all of you again from all of our wide variety of locations again this afternoon, with an enormous number of different animals and species and their habitats, with a wide variety of guides as well. And we look forward to seeing you on the show this afternoon. Until then, have a wonderful day. Signing out from Djuma Private Game Reserve, Sandy's Cub. Goodbye until then.